Hello and welcome to Newsfeed, your daily dose of what people are talking about online, from news stories to what's trending. Is it just me, or do you also feel like every random thing you search for online comes up as an ad on an app a few days later? Say I was in the market for new shoes and browsing online. My Instagram feed gets flooded with shoe ads. And if I were to buy something from any of them, I get asked questions about what my shopping experience was like. That's a bit aggressive, right? But it's also at the core of tech giant Meta's business. Simply put, the company tracks your behavior on its apps, like the stuff you click on or leave a reaction to. If you're a business owner looking to advertise on the platform, you select who you want to target by age, location, or interests. And voila, the platform matches the two. You can always turn this off, but since this feature is a moneymaker, the settings aren't that easy to find. There are, of course, people who take issue with that. In Europe, the privacy and data rights advocate Noib took this matter to court. The Irish watchdog fined Meta $414 million on Monday.
When the GDPR kicked in, we actually filed 3 complaints against Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, so all Meta companies. And the issue was that Facebook used to use consent for using your data, for example, for advertisement. And consent has a lot of conditions, like it has to be informed, unambiguous, specific, freely given. You can withdraw it at any time. So for example, for advertisement, they would have to give you a yes or no option if your data is used for advertisement or not. Now, Facebook didn't like that too much. They wanted to use that data all the time and without asking people, really. So they had the great idea of putting this consent clause into their terms and conditions at midnight when the GDPR kicked in. And because they said this is now a contract and not consent anymore, the laws for consent do not apply.
Ever get the feeling that Facebook and Instagram know more about you than you know about yourself? Well, European regulators have decided they know too much. And that's going to be a very expensive problem for the platform's parent company, Meta. The Irish Data Protection Commission on Wednesday said Meta must pay a $400 million fine for violating the EU's General Data Protection Regulation. This is hardly the first time that Meta or Facebook have been hit by fines for how they handle users' data. But this is no ordinary time for Meta. Advertising revenue is already down, and it's been spending billions of dollars developing its new metaverse virtual reality platform. And some analysts wonder if it's a waste. Extra expenses are not what Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg needs right now. He might get a reprieve, though. Irish regulators say their bosses in Brussels overstepped their authority. They're going to appeal. It's possible that Meta could get away with a fine of just $62 million. But with the market in a downturn, they're going to have to start squeezing every user for every penny of data they have. And if they transgress again, that means more fines. It'll take the luck of the Irish for Meta to get off scot-free.
Let's now turn to the e-commerce giant Amazon. Well, it's laying off more than 18,000 workers, almost double the number it announced back in November, including workers in human resources and its Amazon stores. CEO Andy Jassy said Amazon is a long-lasting and massive company, so there might not be, quote, heavy people expansion mode every year. The move is in line with other tech companies such as Meta and Twitter, which recently announced widespread layoffs as well. After COVID-19 lockdowns ended, online shopping rates dropped significantly, and now big companies that ramped up hirings to meet demand don't need them anymore. And staying with tech companies, dial back to 2019 when Twitter banned all political ads. The then CEO Jack Dorsey said political message reach should be earned and not bought. Well, that ship has now sailed. New chief, new rules. Twitter is set to relax all restrictions on political advertising and will align its policies with TV and other media outlets. In a tweet, Elon Musk's microblogging platform said cause-based ads can facilitate public conversation and that political advertising will be expanded in the coming weeks. But with Twitter's finances looking bleak, this latest move has to be about boosting the coffers. In 2021, advertising accounted for 90% of its $5.1 billion turnover. But since Musk's takeover, the company has hemorrhaged advertisers, mainly for fear that the platform could be swamped with divisive content. Reinstating the accounts of former President Donald Trump and self-declared misogynist Andrew Tate may not have allayed their fears. Okay, I don't want to spook anyone out, but do you ever wonder if we could be returning to the dark days of COVID-19 with lockdowns, mandatory masks, and travel restrictions? I mean, look at what's happening with China. Not only are infection and fatality numbers going through the roof, but now countries are once again placing restrictions on travelers coming in from China. The European Union is the latest to recommend passengers should have a negative coronavirus test before they leave China. More than a dozen countries, including the US, the UK, and France, have already imposed travel restrictions.
More and more countries are demanding that travellers from China take COVID tests before boarding. But does that make sense? True, China's clearly in the midst of a raging epidemic, with widespread reports of infections and overwhelmed hospital facilities. The virus could also mutate as it spreads through China's massive population of 1.4 billion people. So far, there's been no evidence of new mutations, although China has not been transparent with information, and a variant could be circulating without our knowledge. But even if a variant did emerge, experts doubt that the new testing rules would prevent it from spreading. Remember the Delta and Omicron variants? Both of those spread around the world despite testing and quarantine requirements. Given how contagious the coronavirus is, it could easily evade these new travel rules. So these restrictions are likely performative, imposed for political rather than scientific reasons. If they achieve anything, it will just be to further poison China's relations with the West.
And here's a map of all the countries that are imposing travel restrictions on people coming from China. Almost daily, more countries are placing some kind of imposition, whether it's insisting masks are worn, COVID-19 tests before travel, or even testing the wastewater on airplanes. With all the media attention on China, especially since it eased its zero COVID-19 policy, you'd be forgiven for thinking the country's on its knees and the number of infections is colossal. But look at these numbers from the respected Johns Hopkins University. China is way down on the list of countries with infections and deaths in the last 28 days. The WHO says China underreports the number of deaths related to the virus, but look at the top countries. Japan, South Korea, the US, even Brazil, France, and Germany have all had over 1 million infections in the past month. Put in this context, China doesn't look so bad. And here's a graph to calm us all down. This shows COVID-19 cases worldwide in the past 12 months. Are we heading for another wave of pandemic? Remember, it is winter in the Northern Hemisphere with lockdowns and heavy restrictions. Well, the flat line on this graph suggests not. Whatever the reporting about China and COVID-19, it looks like we're no worse off than we were this time last year. Phew. All right, it's that time of year again. CES has kicked off in Las Vegas, and we're seeing some pretty exciting tech at the world's biggest consumer electronics show.
Technology conference in the world, and people are already embarrassing themselves, and things are getting weird.
And that's what CES is usually about. Weird, new, impressive tech. So, people always have something to say about BMWs. And now, one of its concept cars actually has something to say back.
I am your ultimate companion. This is how we reimagine tomorrow.
It's like Knight Rider, but in 2023. And BMW says she feels emotions.
Meet Dee. But please don't call her just a car. You will hurt her feelings. Basically, she says she's the best thing since the wheel was invented. Well, she definitely doesn't lack self-confidence, right, Dee?
You bet, Oliver.
And guess who gave his stamp of approval to the emotive vehicle?
And BMW told me about their new vision for AID. I loved it. I thought it was such a nice, new, creative idea. I had a big smile on my face when they told me about that. A machine that actually cares. It reminds me a little bit on the character that they played in Terminator 2, the T-800, that saved, humanity.
This is crazy.
Another BMW also turned heads on the show floor.
even is functional. It can absorb light, and it can reflect light, and it can show us the complete spectrum of the rainbow.
And Sony even got in on the fun, unveiling its new car. That's right, Sony has a car.
This is a prototype under our new brand, Afeela.
Afeela is the product of Sony's new joint venture with Honda. The electric vehicle has more than 40 sensors that enhance its ability to detect objects and drive autonomously.
We will further proceed with the development towards mass production, anticipating to start taking pre-orders in the first half of 2025 and start sales within the same year.
Then there's this ride, also creating a buzz. It's a hands-free, self-driving, smart stroller.
This is the Glückskind Ella. It's the smartest stroller in the world. It is powered by AI with computer vision, with sensors all around it to give it a 360 safety bubble. So it scans its environment and knows its environment so that parents can walk hands-free when it's not occupied. And when you stop, it will stop when you're out of the range.
And here are some of the other super fun gadgets that have caught our eye at CES so far.
This is the world's first truly wireless OLED TV. I mean, just watch it be picked up and carried around. There are battery-powered TVs out there, but none with OLED quality.
Check out the Flex Note. This is Samsung's concept of what a laptop could be. Or is it a tablet? I don't really know because all I'm seeing is a screen. You can see that there is a keyboard on the bottom that you can use, but I personally like a tactile response when I'm using keys, so I don't know if this is something that I would prefer.
First time I went to CES with Panasonic was 2020, and I had such an amazing time.
First time I went to CES with Panasonic was literally today, and she is not exaggerating. This place is incredible. It's obviously the most influential tech event in the world.
Have you ever wanted to print the color of hair? Well, you can with this hair printer right here. You can design whatever color schemes you actually want, and it'll print it right along your hair, as you can see right here.
Okay, this is probably the prettiest laptop we've ever seen. The touchpad disappears when you're not using it, and then this iridescent finish is simply stunning. Look at how it changes in the light. This is a brand new computer called the LG Gram Style.
Not gonna lie, I want that last laptop. All right, let's talk about the highest paid athlete in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo. After the World Cup, he surprised everyone by signing for Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr for $70 million a year. Though he may need to get on Google Maps to check his location.
For me, it's not the end of my career to come in South Africa. This is why I want to change. And to be honest, I'm really don't worry about what the people say.
It's Saudi Arabia, not South Africa, El Bicho. Ronaldo also made news because of his social media popularity. Al Nassr had roughly 500,000 followers on Instagram before they signed the Portuguese star, but now that number has skyrocketed to more than 9 million. And that's our show. Find us on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you same time tomorrow.